Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Unconventional Attorney Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Small, and I am the Unconventional Attorney. What is up, everybody? Hopefully, you're having a great day, week, month, quarter, everything. This is the last quarter of 2019, last quarter of the decade. Hopefully, you are making it a great one. I can tell you that I have started it out wonderfully. I'm actually going to be starting it out even more wonderfully in a couple of weeks. I'm doing the same thing again. But I hosted a mastermind meeting with 9 other law firm owners last weekend in Charleston, South Carolina. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the lessons that came out of that. I also, by the way, want to let you know that the next mastermind meeting I'm going to be hosting is going to be in January in San Diego, January 3rd and 4th, I believe. If you are interested at all in that, then please let me know somehow, okay? There are only 5 spots available. You are probably not going to get one, but if you think you might want to do it, then just reach out. You never know. Might be able to make something happen, okay? The reason there are only 5 spots available is because the 9 that came last time, I think are going to come this time, and I like to keep the group small. So that only makes room for like 5 more people. That gives us 14. I'm the 15th, the MC, and it provides enough time for everybody to do their thing. Before I get into the lessons learned, I wanted to remind you that if you are not subscribed to the world's greatest newsletter, you should go and subscribe to it. You can do that by going to theunconventionalattorney.com/newsletter and just put your name and email in. And every Sunday, you'll get some amazing goodness from me. It's not salesy at all. It's just information, things I'm working on right now. I give you a sneak peek into my weekly live boardroom meetings with sanctuary members. And I also just give you a couple of things to work on, a couple of to-do items for the week to help make you and your business better. Once again, that's theunconventionalattorney.com/newsletter. Don't miss it. By the way, if you don't like it, just unsubscribe. There's a button right at the bottom of every email that says, hey, I don't want this anymore. Hit that button if you don't want to hang out with us, okay? But let's get into this subject matter, the mastermind meeting. And as always, I learned a bunch of different things. I always learn something about throwing these meetings, hosting these meetings. I take a lot of pride in providing a lot of value when people come, and so there's always a little bit of tension, a little bit of anxiety for me around that. This one went off without a hitch. It was great. Found a good venue that I'm using over and over and over again. It's the same venue in San Diego that we use in Charleston, and works really great. The facilities are really nice, and the people are really nice, and so that was cool. That was good, and everybody had a lot of fun. There were some tears shed. That's how you know you got a good mastermind meeting, guys. That means people are opening up. They're talking about things that are actually important to them and meaningful, and gives us the opportunity to all sort of get together and group think to problem solve. But there were some lessons that came out of it. I wanted to share those today, give you some insight, and hopefully give you some ideas, some strategies, some things that you can use with your own life, with your own law firm, whether you are at our meeting or not. So, number 1, first thing that I think is always is helpful, and I do these mastermind meetings as a host. I do them as a participant. I'm part of a group of some high-level business owners that's going to meet in a couple of weeks from today to do this same experience, except I'm going to be a participant instead of a host this time. And I can tell you, every single time I go to a mastermind, one of the things that I learn and I think that is helpful and that I see is that everybody is struggling with something, and it's not, that doesn't necessarily make me feel better. It doesn't make me feel better to see other people struggling, but it is nice to know that I'm not the only one that doesn't have it all figured out. We can often look around, we can see people's Instagram, we can see people's Facebook posts, we can just see people's lives, see what kind of cars they're driving and how they're acting sort of out there in the world. And we can think to ourselves, dang, how come everybody hasn't got this thing figured out and I can't figure it out. Why am I struggling so much with my business, sometimes with your life, sometimes with just all sorts of things that come up that you have to deal with. And it's nice to sit in a group, in a room with a group of people that are being honest and open and candid about their fears, about their frustrations, about their anxieties, so that they can get some help. But it also allows you to really see, like, look, everybody's the same. We all have the same fears. We all are going through the same shit. We're all doing the same things. And that can really help you as you go through your own things to not, to sort of focus on solutions and focus on action instead of focusing on those outside influences in the way that things look. Okay? So that's always, I think, an important realization. It's something that I like to have every time, because you get away from those groups as time goes by, and that event gets farther and farther away. It's really easy to sink back into that mindset of, look at everybody else, how much fun they're having, how much success they're having. Why can't I be that person? Why can't I get those things? Why am I different? Why am I struggling? And the truth is, we're all struggling in some way, shape, or form, and we're all just trying to figure it out, right? On this big old rock hurling through space. By the way, this is a total tangent, but I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he or somebody on the show was talking about how crazy it is, our existence. And if you think about it, it's pretty dang crazy. Like, we literally are sort of on a rock, spinning around and around and around at hundreds of miles an hour, and then itself is spinning around and around and around something, a big old flame, right? That's a bomb, basically, that's 1,000,000 times bigger than our planet. And we're still here, like, kicking, doing this thing, making these videos about our businesses. So it's crazy. But in any event, that's lesson 1. Lesson number 2. This is something that I'm constantly reminding people that are in the group, and by reminding them, I get to remind myself. I get to see this over and over again, and that is that business moves slower than you think. This also goes back to that what looks like on the outside. Everybody's so successful, so fast. They're doing all these things. And a lot of these stories that you hear from these people going from zero to like $1 million in no time, a lot of these businesses are software businesses. They're something that is that has the ability to gain a bunch of users really fast. And law firms, for the most part, are not that way, right? We're brick and mortar businesses. We take on one client at a time. We have to build over time. We're not capital intensive either. We don't have $1 million to go throw at a marketing campaign. I guarantee you, if you did, you'd be able to gain customers very, very quickly. But we don't have that. We don't have VC funding. We don't have people coming and just throwing money at us. And so that can make it difficult over the course of the business. If your business is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, it's still a baby business. It's still a tiny business. And it's really, really important to keep that perspective, to take the approach of the tortoise. Every day show up. Every day knock the things out that you need to knock out. Every day do the thing. Just keep going at it over and over and over and over again forever. Then you wake up and your business is crushing it. Okay? Those are a lot of things that we have to talk about in this group. We have people stand up and they're talking about what their 12-month goals are, and their 12-month goal is to 10x. It's like, look, I know you want to 10x. I know you want to go this fast. I know you want to go so fast. And it's not even about being realistic. It's about being able to even come up with a plan to get there that's functional. And so just I'm not trying to sort of burst your bubble or anything, stamp out your flame, but just know that when you're feeling disappointed, when you feel like things are going so slow, that over the grand scheme of things, over the course of your business life, you're doing just fine. Okay? All right. Number 3. This is a great one. It's something that's clear when you're there, but it's really hard to think about and consider sometimes, and that is, it often takes an outside observer to identify our blind spots. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense, because if it's a blind spot for you, it means you can't see it, right? But I can't tell you how many times we did these hot seats for our mastermind, and somebody gets up there and they talk about their goals, They talk about their 90-day goals, and they talk about the thing that they think is the biggest barrier in front of them. Often, that initial barrier was sort of a front for what the real barrier was, and everybody could see it immediately. Just by the way that they were telling the story, just by the things that they were focusing on and saying, we had the opportunity to ask follow-up questions, and those follow-up questions would often sort of expose the true barrier, the true thing standing in the way of people achieving what they want to achieve. And that's what's really great about these mastermind meetings, about talking through things with people, and about having many people in a room listening to you. One of the other cool things that comes from this, which is sort of the same thing, is I'm always surprised and fascinated and sort of happy is not the right word, but just it's amazing how many experiences people have that they never talk about. We had somebody talking about in the group about their experience with a business partner and some issues they were having and some things that they were trying to work through. And there were other people in the group that raised their hand and talked about similar things that they'd gone through that I didn't even know about. And I've known a lot of these people for years, and I'd never known that they'd had those troubles or that they'd gone through those things with people, some good, some bad. And just to hear those stories and to be able to get that feedback from people that have been through it is so helpful, and so it makes things seem less scary when somebody in the group can say, I know where you've been, I know what you're going through, I've seen that, I've done it, it's going to be okay, here's what I did to do it, and even though it seems scary right now, it's going to be okay. So seeing those blind spots and getting that feedback from people that have actually been through it before, another critically important and wonderful thing that you get to experience with mastermind groups. Okay, number 4. This, by the way, I'm getting a little woo on this. This was a big topic of the meeting this quarter, and it probably is going to be something I'm going to touch on every single time because it's that important, and it's easy to get away from it if we're not careful. But the idea here, the concept is that we all deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy. And I don't mean happy in the sense that I'm sacrificing for someone else. I don't mean happy in the sense that, I am seeing my family succeed and do things and when maybe I want to do something else. I'm talking about everyone, including you, deserves to be happy. Okay? Again, I always feel like when I do this that I'm having one of those Goodwill Hunting moments, like it's not your fault. But I can't tell you how many times people got up and talked, and at the end of the day, we come to find that we're making decisions and we're doing things because of the outside pressure that people are putting on us to conform to these ideals that people have and to get in line with the dreams and the goals and the desires that other people have, that whether they're in line with what we want or not could be cooperatively sort of met on both sides if everybody understood where everybody was coming from and then allowed the space for everybody to pursue their things. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go into a lot of detail with these because what we talk about in the mastermind group stays in the mastermind group. But what I can tell you is that it's so important for you to know where you want to go, know who you are as a person, and be okay with that, and be willing to voice that opinion and tell people when you want to do something that may not be directly in line with what someone else wants to do or with cultural norms even. And so it's just really important, and it's this is a theme that continues to come up every single time because we all want to do different things. We're all kind of weird in our own ways, and that's okay. We all like our own thing. We all like to do our own thing. We want to exist and be respectful of each other, but everybody deserves to be happy. All right, and the fifth and final thing that I sort of enjoyed or remembered or took away from this mastermind meeting is the idea that Playing by the rules is for suckers, okay? And what I mean by that, and that kind of goes to what we were talking about just here with this fourth thing, is that the world wants to create a bunch of rules for you. The world wants to tell you how to act. The world wants to tell you how to dress. The world wants to tell you how to do everything. And if you just decide that you're going to conform with those rules, if you just decide that you're going to go along to get along, you are not going to be happy, and you're not going to have the success that you want and deserve. Perfect case in point, these videos, right? Making these videos is very scary for people because we have societal norms about tooting your own horn. We have societal norms about putting yourself out there. We have societal norms about the way that we say things and having opinions. And when you make these videos, you have to express an opinion. You have to put yourself out there. You have to say, look at me. You have to say, I'm here to help. And you have to say, call me if you need help. All of these things can go against societal norms. And here's the other thing too. When you start to do this kind of stuff, when you start to have success, when you look like you're having fun, when you are actually having fun, by the way, this stuff is super fun. When you start to do those things, when you start to express yourself more, when you start to disobey the rules, I mean in quotation marks, people are going to become anxious. There's going to be dissonance between what you're doing and their life, okay? What they have decided their life is meant to be. And that can be very difficult, all right? But what you'll find is the more that you allow yourself to be yourself, the more that you express who you are, the less you allow outside opinions and judgments and voices to affect your actions, the better your life will be. All right? It's a pretty good place to end it, I think. If you are not going to mastermind meetings at least once a year, I would say at least, and I would suggest you go every quarter. That's when I host one every quarter, and I go to one every quarter. And then sometimes I mix one up in between. I went to another one 3 weeks ago. If you're not going to these types of meetings, you're really limiting your ability to succeed. You are slowing your growth even more than you need to. You know, a business grows slowly, but that doesn't mean it has to go as slow as possible. You know, it should go as fast as it can within reason. And part of doing that, part of making that happen is going to these things and expanding your mind and being open to new possibilities and taking action and being afraid and subjecting yourself to judgment and doing all the things that we do, you know? So let's keep that in mind. Again, you know, I'm hosting another mastermind in San Diego in January. There are only 5 spots available. You probably aren't going to get one. I can't help but laugh when I say that because I think it's kind of crazy, but find one. And if enough of you say yes, maybe I'll do 2 of them. You know, it's totally possible. I'm not planning on it. It's very hard. By the time I'm done, I'm exhausted. But if there's enough of you, maybe. You never know. But anyway, go to one. Find one. Get one. And if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, the best newsletter in the world, you're not even going to know how to register because that's probably going to be the only place that I talk about it is going to be on that newsletter. If you want to get on the newsletter and get tons of helpful information, go to theunconventionalattorney.com/newsletter. That is theunconventionalattorney.com/newsletter. That's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for your time. If you're still listening, I really appreciate it. You have no idea. Take these lessons, implement them into your own life. Attend a mastermind. Create your own mastermind. Share. Be vulnerable. Be strong. You know, do what you want to do. Stick to your guns. Don't be afraid to speak up. And go out there and get everything that you want out of life. All right, that's it. I'm Christopher Small. I am the Unconventional Attorney. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.